Hello, I'm Martin Mercer.
And I'm James Mastriani.
You've never heard of us.
We're two Brits who grew up in North London and have had varying success in the film and television industry.
In our ever-advancing age, we find ourselves on
the wrong side of Hollywood.
In our series of podcasts, we'll share our experiences of what it's like being a British bloke living and working,
Or not.
in the biz.
We'll discuss everything from fish and chips to things that wind us up.
So stay with us, it's all uphill from here.
This podcast may contain strong language. If you're of a sensitive nature or easily offended, we invite you to, as they say in Blighty, jog on.
Hello, welcome back to the wrong side of Hollywood on a very rainy, murky day in April.
April showers, May flowers. But it is still pissing down in Los Angeles. Pissing down, bucketing down, raining cats and dogs.
Yes, all of those that Martin said. He hit all of them in one go. If you have any more that you want to add, please feel free to put messages in the Facebook page. Yeah?
We'd love to hear from you. Hello? Can you hear that?
I can.
That's what I hear every day I'm awake. It's called tinnitus.
You mean tinnitus?
Thank you, my dear pedantic chum.
Well, you know, Tintin, a character,
Yeah.
and then you're affected by him, so it's Tintinitis, but you actually have tinnitus.
Tinnitus, right. I do. And look at you laughing. It's not funny. Yeah, it's not funny. I just wanted to give a demonstration of what that is like. Imagine. It's actually quite bad, and it affects a lot of people, actually, whether you've been in the military and you have battle experience.
Or in a car accident, as a friend of ours once had,
Right.
which caused his tinnitus.
Yeah, and I have a supply of herbal supplements.
You mean herbal?
Fucking hell, you can't get a word in edgeways with this, mate. They say pedanting is something about a character. Anyway, these supplements, they use a flavonoid, which is taken from the peel of a lemon, actually, which is quite interesting. But I've found it actually does lessen the volume of the
Tinnitus?
Rin Tin Tin. I'm going to call it that from now on. The Rin Tin Tin. And it does lessen it a bit to the degree that it doesn't make you want to kill yourself. And that's grim. But seriously, before I took that supplement, it was sometimes so loud.
I can't imagine.
I remember going for a job interview and the director or the production designer was talking and I'm just focusing and trying to hear through this noise.
Were you reading lips?
That's what you do. That's what I realized I was doing before the hearing aids is you become very good at reading lips. And of course, I'm always conscious I'm looking at people's lips.
Right.
And I remember from drama class is when you want to look like you want to kiss somebody, you look at their lips. So that's going on in the back of my fucking head. I'm like, I'm looking at their fucking lips. I don't want to kiss you. Yeah, so it can be very debilitating. James, pedanting.
Debilitating?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so that supplement helps. And there are other things like you can have noise makers, you can have a fan on, you can do things like that that can ease the noise. A noise against noise, if that makes sense.
Sure. Do you hear it at night when you sleep?
Fortunately, no.
See, that's interesting because a lot of people hear it even in their sleep.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm really thankful I don't.
Yeah.
And the thing is as well, is with the noise, your hearing gets less.
Mm.
Your hearing gets less, but if somebody clanks some china or something, it's really aggravating.
Yeah.
And that's what the doc said to me is the old quack. He said that basically if you're losing your hearing, those noises become more aggravating.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, when my hearing's bad, I can't hear what the wife's saying. And then she starts talking like this. And, of course, it's not her fault. And then when my hearing gets better, because it's in waves,
Right.
it gets better. And I'm like, why are you shouting? And she's like, anyway. So there we go. The weather, the rain, and the ringing. Now, it's dunk love time.
Dunk, 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 dunk love!
So, We're just scraping by here on our end of Easter podcast because we've been having a few little technical issues, hence the delay. I know all our wrong-siders are gagging for the next podcast.
Yes.
So James and I put our two eggheads together and thought we better crack on and get something out.
And speaking of eggheads,
Right. We've got some chocolate sampling here. Now, there's a huge issue here, more than all the wars going on and the political nightmare we find ourselves in, is the state of American chocolate compared to British chocolate.
now we're going to start a massive row here with our American friends.
Well, we will, and that's good because we need to wake them and shake them to the reality that US chocolate is complete arse. Now, I was looking into this, as it were.
They were.
And basically, we've got Cadbury's chocolate, which is British, and then we have Hershey, which is American. And I know there are other companies in America that make chocolate, and it's very good, to
And
be
globally,
fair.
that we get here too, like, I can't even think of one of my friends.
Yes, right. There's
Fucking
James
hell.
speaking for US chocolate. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So we have the British chocolate, which is mainly Cadbury. Now, a brief history here for anybody who's interested, the two people in Potter's Bar. In March 1824, John Cadbury, hence Cadbury's, began selling tea, coffee and drinking chocolate in Birmingham. So it's not all bad up north. And by 1849, with his brother Benjamin, they introduced the first chocolate bar, the proper chocolate bar. And after that, they soon received a royal warrant from none other than Queen Victoria herself.
That's correct. And that's why there's the little emblem on the Cadbury's chocolate bars.
That's right. And it's always had its purple wrapper.
Yeah.
For those that haven't had Cadbury's, it's got a very distinct purple wrapper. And that was in 1905. That was the first dairy milk bar, which is actually they used milk, which was the first time. And actually cream eggs came around in 1923.
And thank God for cream eggs, because they are fabulous.
Yes. So cream eggs were 1923. And that's the thing you realise when you look into it. And when you look at Fry's chocolate as well. Now, Fry's chocolate was their competitor at the time. And in the end, they ended up merging.
They did.
Right. But Fry's...
And Bourneville.
And Bourneville. That's
And
right. And
Bourneville.
now it's Cadbury's Bourneville.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. They swallowed them all up on the bun. Now, between World War I and II, they sent packets of chocolate to kids all over the world for them to review, to see, give a taste and see what they think. And one of those kids happened to be Ronald Dahl, who wrote...
You mean Roald Dahl?
And him, I'm talking about his brother. Who did the writer write?
Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Excellent. Exactly. Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. So there's an idea that maybe he was stimulated by that package. Now, the dreaded nightmarish Kraft Foods purchased Cadbury for $11.5 billion.
Did you know that they had to borrow $7 billion to finance the takeover?
Unreal. And that's a whole nother railroad of financing nightmares that these people, they spend billions, but they don't have it.
Yeah.
That's the secret, ladies and gentlemen, is that you don't use your own money.
Exactly. But here was the interesting thing. Who owned Kraft?
I don't know, James. Who owns them?
Hershey's.
I thought Hershey's was owned by Kraft, mate.
It might be the
Check
other way
your
around.
facts.
But either way, Kraft and / Hershey now owns Cadbury's.
They own the right to make it here.
Right.
Yes.
Which is why, for a while, you couldn't get English chocolate that was being imported in because they didn't want it to compete.
Right. They put a lawsuit in, which I think has gone now.
I think so.
I don't think it could work. But we're talking about Hershey.
Yeah.
First bar was sold in 1900. It sold so well that Milton Hershey built his own company town.
Wow.
They had a temple, a church, they had everything there in Pennsylvania. Have you ever been to Pennsylvania?
I have not been to Pennsylvania.
No, nor have
I've
I.
flown over it.
Have you?
Yes.
I hear it's lovely. Anyway, this is an earth-shaking revelation. This is the first time you'll hear this.
Fact.
This is a wrong side of Hollywood breakthrough here. This is just going to get us so many hits. Why does Hershey's taste like shite? Vomit. In fact, most people say it has a vomit taste.
Well, I've done my own research on this, and it's because they put a lot of carnauba wax into it, which is why it has that kind of brittly, waxy texture to it.
Yes.
But why is that?
I'll tell you why, sir.
Why not?
World War I,
Yes.
Hershey was commissioned by the United States Army to make a chocolate bar that resisted melting at temperatures higher than 90 degrees Fahrenheit, hence
Jeez.
the wax, and have Wait for it. An unpleasant enough flavour to stop the troops having a craving for them.
Wow.
Well, obviously they didn't throw the recipe away.
No, they're still using it.
They're still making it.
Which is why it's so shite.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go, everyone. That is why Hershey's has that vomit taste. It's bizarre, isn't it? Make them chocolate, but make it taste like shit so they don't want any more. I just don't... Anyway.
You might as well just give them chocolate laxative.
It's bizarre. So with that said, we have a taster plate here.
We do.
Now, James very kindly brought young Lucas a Smarties chocolate Easter egg, which is made by Nestle.
Which is British Smarties, not to be confused with American Smarties,
No.
which is more of a fruity thing.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Back on planet Earth.
Yes.
Now, the Smarties, when I was a kid, used to come in a nice tube and they had that plastic lid on the
That you
top.
can flip.
You could flip it off. Exactly. Well, now, because millions of children have choked on those, apparently,
Oh,
now
God.
it comes in a hexagonal little tube that's much smaller than a Smartie tube, I remember.
Yeah.
And you can kind of open it up like an origami thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. So here, there's my Smarties. Oh, it sounds like a train.
But it's hexagonal. It's not a round tube.
No, it's hexagonal. Now, that's because it's easier to make something from a flat piece of paper and make it into a hexagon shape than it is to manufacture a tube, which has to be thicker, thus using more materials.
Interesting.
Yes. Anyway, so we got those. Now, we've got a Cadbury's cream egg, but...
It's the American version.
It's American. And this is another thing with American chocolate here. Not that I'm trying to diss our American listeners. Ingredients. Milk chocolate, sugar, milk, cocoa butter, chocolate, milk, fat, lecithin, soy, natural and artificial flavour. Corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup contains 2% less of artificial colour, yellow 6, artificial flavour, calcium chloride, egg whites. Oh, the only natural ingredient in there. So that's the problem, you see. You've got that shit in it. Now we've got a Smarties egg here, which is manufactured by Nestle in Britain. And here we go. Ingredients. Sugar, skim milk powder, cocoa mass, cocoa butter, glucose syrup, wheat flour, whey powder product, milk, butterfat milk, vegetable fats, palm shea, starch, emulsifier, lecithins, colours, beetroot red, carotenes, calcium, flavourings, spirulina concentrate, glazing agents, carbona wax, beeswax, plant and vegetable concentrates, safflower, radish, barley malt extract, Rainforest Alliance certified cocoa, which means they don't use slave labour.
But hold on a second. There's carnauba
That
wax.
sounds absolutely wonderful, James. Quickly moving on.
That's got carnauba wax in it.
Shush! It's fucking marvellous. Next, we move on to Trader Joe's chocolate.
Uh-oh.
And where's the box? Oh, there we go. Trader Joe's box. So I have to say that egg sounds a little bit suspect, quite frankly. Anyway, now Trader Joe's, which is a supermarket in America, but it's actually owned by the German company that owns Aldi.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah, that's why they get all the European cheeses for dirt cheap prices. It's a German-owned company. Now, the ingredients, this is what I like to read. Sugar, cocoa butter, whole milk powder, unsweetened chocolate, soy lecithin, emulsifier, natural vanilla flavour. Now, this is Trader Joe's mini milk chocolate bars, super smooth Belgium chocolate. And I always like reading on the boxes. Are you ready? Once upon a time, our mini milk chocolate bars are perfectly proportioned to satisfy your calorie-conscious chocolate craving. Chocolate, anyone?
Talking of, I'm going
Right.
to tuck in. So I'm going to try this Trader Joe's.
Okay, and you've made a nice tea, Builders. Thank you.
A nice cup of Trader Joe's tea. That's not Trader Joe's tea.
That's British.
That's British tea, that is.
Yeah, proper.
That's aye, lad. Right, here we go. Not bad.
Hmm.
No, that's not bad at all.
Well, it's got a nice, it's firm.
Yeah. And it tastes like chocolate.
It's not waxy.
No.
And it's creamy,
Mm-hmm.
but it still remains solidy.
Right. I'll be buying that again.
Oh, hold on. I'm getting a slight hit of malt, I would say.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's good.
Should we try this Smarties egg?
Yeah, let's try that.
Oh, have a swig of tea first. Remember, you like wine tasting.
Right.
Clean your palate. Okay. Moving on.
All right. This is the Nestle Smarties egg with the carnauba wax.
Bastard.
Not holding my breath on this one.
I wouldn't. It stinks. Now, this is interesting.
Is it?
It's kind of like a Trader Joe's, but it's a bit firmer, hence the wax.
There's a texture to it that's almost chalky.
No.
Very, very, very slight. It's not as creamy. It's got like a powdery kind of texture.
I know
to
what
it.
you mean.
You know what I mean?
It has more of a hold over the palate.
It tastes good.
It does. I couldn't eat a lot of it, though.
No.
The egg is quite big, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if I was a kid and I would eat that, I think my brain would just literally drop down my spine. It's so, it's quite powerful. The other one was malty. It's not bad. It's a light flavour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shall we move on to the American cream egg?
Now, I have to be honest.
Palate wash.
I've gotten used to the American cream eggs
Yes.
to the point where when I have the British versions, I think they're too rich.
Interesting. So far in our chocolate tasting, I'm not overwhelmed by the sugar, I have to say.
Okay.
Let's try this.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I've cut this in half
Yeah.
for product placement purposes. Now, I've not had an English one for quite a few years.
Okay.
When you bit into it, that yolk was like a yolk.
It was. The fondant
Fondant.
yolk,
Yeah,
but
he's
it's
good with his words, isn't he?
sometimes.
The fondant. And this is more like an icing.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, you put the whole fucking in?
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Honestly,
You know, if somebody didn't tell me it was full of all that artificial shit, I wouldn't know.
that's what I'm saying.
The chocolate is actually, it's got a good hold to it. It's not unpleasant, but I can't compare to the English one. I can't remember.
Because we haven't got any.
The fondant is very sweet, I
Yeah.
find.
I think cream eggs in general are very, very sweet.
Yeah.
But all the flavours are there that bring me back to my childhood. But I think because I haven't had a British cream egg in such a long time,
Right.
I did see them in the store the other day and they are bigger.
Ah,
They are bigger
are
than
bigger.
the ones they sell here.
right.
So,
I'm surprised they sell them here because they're like, you could swallow the egg and end your life. Well, I have to cut them in half.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, over here is a Gluck. Anyway, okay, we're moving on to the Yorkie bar.
all right.
Now, the Yorkie bar, of course, is a staple of childhood. You got the truck driver in the adverts.
Right.
It's very mannish.
Yeah.
No women allowed. Of course, now in the UK, they did have, look, women can have them too, type
Right,
of thing
yeah.
on them, which is, oh dear. Anyway,
I got to say, I've never been a fan of Yorkie.
no,
I think the
haven't either.
Oh, really?
I wasn't. I can't. Where am I? Help. No, I agree. It's not my favourite chocolate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I won't buy that for you next year then.
No, sorry.
Bastard.
But the thing about Yorkie was it was meant to be this chunky, you got a lot of chocolate for your money. Here we go. Oh. Yeah.
It's not bad. Just
I didn't read out the ingredients of that, did I?
No.
I've got no idea what the ingredients are. Oh, hold on. Yeah. I noticed my voice went up about 3 octaves.
You know what? I think it's all right, but it's one of those things where I think the older I get, I only need one chunk. I don't need to scarf the whole bar.
No, I couldn't eat the whole bar. Now, you see, with Cadbury's, I can. Like Cadbury's fruit and nut, oh my God, I can just, the whole fucking thing goes down. Now, here, it's okay. It's a bit like the Traders. Now, you see, on this, it says no artificial colours, flavours, spelled correctly with the U, or preservatives. Chunky milk chocolate. Milk chocolate contains cocoa solids, 25%, minimum milk solids, 14, minimum and vegetable. But it doesn't actually give me the whole ingredient. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and again, all the British ones have this alliance with the rainforest.
Ah.
Yeah, they've got vegetable fats, and I think in the UK, we put more vegetable fat in a chocolate compared to the American. They were saying that when the Americans tried Cadbury's and then they tried American chocolate, they said the Cadbury's was smoother and creamier, and I think that's due to the vegetable fat they put in.
Well, I would have thought that'd been due to the fact you put milk in it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. In the adverts for Cadbury's, I remember they used to have a glass.
Yeah, a glass and a half in every bar of Cadbury's dairy milk.
I think that's advertising trickery. But what would you say? What's your favourite out of that lot?
Probably the Trader Joe's, I have to say.
Yeah.
I wish I had my Malteser's egg, but I've scarfed it.
Yeah. Oh, you finished that before we did the podcast.
Well, you know.
That's a bit fucking unpleasant of you, isn't it? Right. Would you like a Smartie?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, again, you see the colours are beetroot red. They use spirulina concentrate, glazing agents, caramel wax, beeswax white. Oh, God. Okay, I'm not going to have those. Okay, well, that's Dunk Love.
Excellent.
So we find ourselves on the other side of the strike. Everybody assumed after the strike, work was going to come crashing in like a tidal wave of joy.
Has it?
However, that has not happened.
Yeah.
What has happened is a contraction of the industry, which we talked about before. A polite way of saying cutting down productions, and there's many, many technical people and there's not enough fucking work. Now, in my craft, which is an art department, should be directorial department, where we do storyboards and concept art, it's been very slow. It's been very quiet. I was lucky enough to be on the job until the beginning of this year. And since then, it's been very quiet. That, however, on the positive, has given me a lot of time to watch some stuff, which I haven't been able to do, and look at what the offerings are. Now, Netflix, say what you want about Netflix, I actually like quite a lot of their stuff, I have to say. I think that the Umbrella Academy, I really love that. And all of these shows do have a look, as has been discussed, right? Cinematography style, even camera movement and direction. But we both have recently watched the
3-Body Problem.
Yes. What did you think?
I gotta say, I binged the whole thing in 3 nights.
Right.
I loved it. I don't want to spoil anything, but we do have spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Right, you're clear. Go on.
No, I thought it was fantastic. I loved the whole setup. I realized it's based on 3 books, and I guess this first series is the first book. I can only imagine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I haven't read them. But it was excellent. There were some incredibly jarring scenes that I liken to Resident Evil, when they go into that tunnel and then the lasers just come down and cut them into chunks. And that's not giving anything away in the 3-Body Problem, but it's very similar. And I was just like, oh shit, because you realize there's nowhere to go.
Right.
And there was another scene later on, slightly different setup, but to me, I was disturbed by it, but in a good way, if there's such a thing of being disturbed in a good way.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm looking forward to season 2 and possibly season 3 if they're doing it by books.
Yeah, if they make it. Warning, spoilers. Anyway, so they use nanotechnology and nanofibers to create a mesh to slice a ship into segments, because it's a way of basically killing everybody, destroying the ship without destroying the computer evidence that they require.
Seriously, spoilers, Martin.
Yeah. Oh, well, sorry. You can turn it off if you don't like it. Anyway, so that was a very powerful scene. And what I liked about it, when you look at the behind the scenes, the female director, whose name I cannot remember, but she seemed pretty cool, and she said a great thing, which she wanted some practical stuff. Now, obviously, you look at the scale of it, you see a whole ship that's sliced into segments about a foot each.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do that practically, but there were some scenes in a corridor where you see lines appearing and there's these clocks.
Yeah, and they also like just get cut in half.
Yeah, and everything drops.
Yeah.
And that was all done practically.
Oh, that was excellent.
On set. I mean, all the people get cut in half as well. And you can see that's some prosthetics and close-ups, but mainly it's digital.
Yeah.
But it's a very powerful scene. But I myself actually really enjoyed it because it is a very stylistic show, and they have this headset that's like a virtual video game. And at first in my head, I was like, okay, these aliens, they're 400 years away from arriving. So hold on a minute, how did these headsets get here? You know, well, now this technology apparently has been developed by the team who are trying to help the aliens come to Earth and say, hello, they're our friends, and so on and so forth. Now, the aliens are using this technology which goes into the science of...
quantum physics.
Yes, right, thank you. I was just going to say that. quantum physics with the idea that you can have two protons can be separated by millions of light years, and yet they both will react in the same way.
Yeah.
So there's a scientific experiment based on probability where they had two slots in a piece of metal. They shone this beam through it, and somehow the protons went through both slots instead of going through one. It was all based on property. It's something my little mind has no idea of knowing what that is. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the aliens, who are 400 years cleverer than us, use a proton as a supercomputer that surrounds the Earth and basically watches all our communication and mucks about with the Hadron Collider, Hydra, whatever that is. Hadron Collider.
I think so.
That big fucking circle in Switzerland and other places where they propel.
CERN.
Who?
CERN.
Eh?
CERN. CERN. CERN.
You don't have to call me sir. We're friends.
Fuck off. Go on.
Anyway.
Hurry up.
They propel these fucking protons around the big circle, and by doing that, they somehow see how the fucking universe works. I can't even work out how the remote control works. Anyway.
That's what your son's for.
Yes, that's right. Inch high tech guy. So all that I find very fascinating. I think the way they did it and presented it was superb. To tell that to an audience.
Yeah. Well, they said it was unfilmable.
Who said that?
When they were looking at the books to produce it, they were saying, oh, this is unfilmable. Apparently, it's already been made into a series in China.
China made a movie. It was never released.
Did you know that the lawyer that was in charge of the Chinese side of it killed the Chinese producer over rights? And now he's been sentenced to death.
No.
Yeah. That was all over BBC News.
Oh, wow.
And now it's hit here on Twitter as well. So
that's Netflix, isn't it? It's like, move aside series 2. We're going with this idea. This is more interesting. You're just going to have to wait 400 years for the next series.
That was really shocking, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So,
okay.
So anyway, so that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
I am, but I'm finished.
Oh, go on then.
Hurry finished up. My dissertation on this. No, because it needs it, because it's very fascinating. What I was touched by was the performances. I think the character of the chap whose brain gets sent into space, unfortunately.
You are really giving it all away, aren't you?
I told you there's spoilers. Look, we're so late with this fucking podcast, mate. There'll probably be series 3 out. But I found that quite interesting because I think you and I were discussing was like, well, hold on. How did they put all those atomic bombs in a perfect arc to send this capsule off to meet the aliens 400 years away? Because obviously they're trying to accelerate this capsule to the speed of light, which is exactly very fast. So they're putting this capsule through and it goes to the speed of light, and they're doing that by detonating an explosion, and there's a solar sail. The sail catches the force and that accelerates the capsule with this bloke's brain in it.
And how does the nuclear explosion not vaporize the capsule?
Well, the thing is, say if it was a mini nuke,
Yeah,
the radius of that blast would be like, what, 2 miles?
maybe.
Well, how long the cables have to be to hold that sail in order to capture the blast, not vaporize the sail, not vaporize the capsule, and not break the cables?
And here's the interesting thing. It's all science fiction.
Yeah, it is, but it is based on science. It has to be rooted in fact to make it work.
Sure.
And look, it was good enough that I didn't really care about
it.
I was carried away.
I think
with
that's the
story.
key right there. It's like, is this going to happen?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, his brain is off into space somewhere. But the thing is, the genius of this, I think, is you don't think about it too much because you're carried away by the story, carried away by the acting. I thought the guy who died, his relationship, and all the actors in it are great. There's Jonathan Pryce, of course.
Yeah,
it's always lovely to see
brilliant.
him.
Yeah.
He always plays a good character.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a good show and I really enjoyed it. Have you seen anything else, James?
I've been watching Extraordinary on Disney Plus UK.
What's that?
It's a British show, which is on Hulu over here.
Oh, I don't have that.
It was a show that was turned on to us by James and Karen Bates. It's very funny. In England, in this universe, some people, by the time they reach 18, they get superpowers.
Okay.
Some people can fly, some people can teleport, some people can do whatever. And it all revolves around this group of friends. And this one girl, she's 25 and she hasn't received her superpowers yet. It's really funny.
Well, that sounds interesting.
So what have you been watching?
Well, I've just caught up on some horror stuff. There's a film called Lamb, which is very good. It's very strange, but it's strange in a really good way. It works really well. It's like a bizarre fairy tale. It takes place somewhere in the cold regions of Europe. I've got no idea where. I've forgotten. I don't know who it's directed by, sorry. But nonetheless, it's really well made, and you really sit with it and soak it in. And there's not much said, and you go through it and you realize that it is a sort of fairy tale. It's a remote farm and they've lost a child. You always have to, in horror, have some sort of tension.
I've heard about this. This
Yes.
is quite old. This is from a couple of years back.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it?
It's good. It's at the end. It's not a surprise, but it's more of a satisfaction.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But the way it's done and directed, the opening shot I think is terrific, which is this view across the mountains, and it's snowy and stormy, and you're coming across them. You're coming down, and you see these wild ponies in the snow, and they all react to this presence,
Right.
the camera, and then they all move, and then it just pushes through them, and you're like, fucking hell. And then, of course, you realize later what the meaning
Right.
of that. Anyway, I highly recommend that. It's good. And next I watched X, which
Yes.
is directed by Thai somebody.
Yeah.
And I would say X, it started off for me really well because the opening shot, it's beautifully directed. You're looking through a fence post, 2 fence posts are framing you, and there's a house, and you see a police car driving up, and as you push through the fence post, you reveal another police car and a copper coming out of the house in the Midwest America somewhere, and you reveal that it's a murder scene as these disfigured bodies and so on and so forth. And it's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
Oh, okay.
I
What
thought
did
it
you
was,
think?
I thought it was excellent.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was drawn to the fact that it was based on a bunch of filmmakers making a porn movie in
Yeah.
the 70s.
oh, hello.
Hello.
Aye.
No, it was really good. And incidentally, it was all filmed in New Zealand. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was all shot in New
interesting.
Zealand. So,
Oh, that's right, because they use wetter
yeah.
for the effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was one scene in there where she goes for a swim in the lake,
yeah.
and there's an alligator in the lake.
Yeah.
And the dread in that scene
Yeah.
was superb.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just sitting there going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
This is not going to end well for
And
anybody.
they have that great overhead shot
Yeah.
with it approaching her, which
Yeah.
is the drone shot.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was slightly disappointed by it.
Really?
Yes, I was. And I was disappointed by 2 things. And this is no insult to Weta. I got a dear mate who works there and I love their stuff. But with old age makeup, when you think back to old age makeup like Dustin Hoffman in Little
Right.
Big Man done by the genius Dick Smith, it works. But this, I was aware that these were 2 people in old age makeup.
see, I didn't-
and that ruined it for me.
I didn't get that.
You thought they were old?
No, I realised that they were in makeup.
And that didn't
but
spoil
it.
it?
Didn't bother me.
Really?
Because I was sitting there,
okay.
how are they going to get 2 old fogies to do that?
Well,
Yeah.
no.
So I knew
But
it
you
had to
shouldn't be thinking that.
No, I know.
You shouldn't be thinking that.
I know, but that didn't bother me as much as what was actually happening in the scene.
Hmm.
But I was aware that obviously
Yeah.
they weren't 2
Right.
aged actors.
All right. Especially when he starts pumping her
Yeah.
and she's under the bed. You know, I was
Yeah.
like, whoa. But to me, it sort of almost became a kind of a spitting image, kind of. It verged on.
You
what's
really
the-
think
what
so?
a word I'm looking for? Pastiche.
Caricature.
Yeah. And I think. If you go back to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you had Grandpa in
Right.
there. Now, he was in this old age makeup, which
Right.
wasn't very good. Certainly wasn't as good as Wetter's, obviously. But the thing is, for some reason, because it was so kooky and weird,
Right.
I kind of accepted it.
Right.
But this, because the makeup was beautifully sculpted and applied and all that lovely stuff, but nonetheless, it was apparent to me.
Mm.
Now, I've had friends like yourself and other dear mates, and they're fine with it.
Yeah.
But for me, it pulled me out of it. And I think if I had believed they were an old couple,
Yeah.
it would have been much more powerful. I also have to say that the tension towards the end of her hiding and when
Right.
she's in the cub and releases her, I just didn't feel it.
You thought it was convoluted?
I didn't feel it was convoluted. I just didn't feel that tension. If you look at High Tension, the French movie,
I hated that movie. I tell you, yeah, I couldn't stand it. I thought it was dreadful
why?
because it was just shit.
Oh, really? That's it?
Yeah.
That's the word.
It was awful. It was such a long time ago. I just remember we did talk about it a long time ago before the podcast. I know that we were on the opposite sides of the fence on that film because
Yeah.
I understood everything you were saying, but the movie just made no sense to me. It was just, maybe I need to see it again, but I just remember coming out of seeing that and thinking, Why?
Right. Did you go to the cinema?
No, I'm just using that phraseology. We watched it at home. I think we had it
You're
on
coming
DVD.
out from behind the couch.
Coming
Coming
out-
out. So shit
Coming
scared.
out from my apartment going, what a piece of crap.
Okay, so you didn't like it. Fair enough. Well, I mean, I didn't feel like this was a piece of crap. I wouldn't say shit, but I'm saying I like in high tension. It's not all good, but the most of I loved it. And I loved it because it is tense and there is tension. When the killer is going up those stairs, she's hiding under bed, the music's like.
But it's the same person.
It doesn't matter. That's the reveal. It doesn't matter. You don't realize that at the beginning. And it works for me and for many other people. James, you're on your own. Go away. No. But the thing is I didn't feel that tension in this. Anyway, so that was that. Well, you liked it. I didn't hate it. But I didn't go and see Pearl. Did you see Pearl?
I haven't seen Pearl yet. It's
Yeah.
on my list, but that's a prequel.
Yeah, yeah.
So the old couple.
Well, we find out what they were, which
Exactly.
is a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, I probably like that better because it won't be with the makeup.
Right.
And one more thing I managed to see. Actually, I saw two other things. The last film I saw yesterday, because that's fresh in my mind, was Men. Have you seen that?
No.
Directed by and written by Alex Garland.
Oh.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Now, I like his stuff. I loved Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Is
And
it
that-
Machina or Machina? I've never known. I've always
I
heard it
think
as...
you probably got it correct because you know me. I've got, what they call it?
Correction in the comments, please.
Yeah, what's it called when you can't say words properly sometimes?
Dyslexic.
Yeah, I definitely have dyslexia.
We all do.
Shut up. We don't all do.
Upshut.
Right, I have. That did shut me up. The X whatever
Ex Machina.
was excellent.
Yeah, I loved it. I
Yeah.
thought that was so grim. And again, the tension in that.
Oh, no, it was
right
excellent.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think the
Yeah.
music has a lot to do with that as well.
Oh,
With
yeah,
the underlining score. There's just this dread coming along.
Absolutely. I mean, it all worked very, and even the design of it, the look of the house,
Right.
you know, and the fact that she goes out into the real world, which is a bit like Yul Brynner jobby.
Oh, yeah, Westworld.
Kind of same idea.
Which is coming back, apparently.
Oh, okay.
HBO are going to be bringing it back.
okay.
Picking up from where they left off. But Alex Garland's
Anyway.
got a new movie
I
coming
know,
out.
which I can't see because we're living it. I mean, it's like, why
Yeah.
would you go and see that? It's too
So
close.
I can prepare myself.
Well, you can prepare yourself, mate. You have to buy a shotgun with a wide spread, as our friend Tyler would say.
Yeah, well, I'm curious because I saw the trailer for that and I was like, yes,
Oh,
that
really?
looks just... I mean, it's Alex Garland. At first I was like, and
Isn't
then
he
I saw it-
retired?
No.
No.
But I remember him being a bit of a miserable git when he was being interviewed for Ex Machina.
Oh,
And somebody was asking him a straight question that he couldn't really give a shit.
right.
So anyway, yeah, Man.
Men, actually.
Oh, Men.
Men, yeah. Every time I say men, I think of Menon, which is the deodorant. Anyway, so Men, it's very interesting because it opens, it's a beautiful shot. He uses colour, he uses red,
Okay.
and in a very good way, of this apartment overlooking Tower Bridge in London on the River Thames. And so basically the idea is this woman divorces her husband. The husband is very unhappy with that and kills himself in front of her by dropping down and impaling himself on a railing. He impales his hand on a railing, splits it in two, breaks his ankle. Now, the reason why those details are important is because she's mourning and she needs to get out. So she goes into the country, small little village, and she rents a big house, Airbnb, and the guy shows her around. Anyway, the walls are painted blood red, ladies and gentlemen. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. A little tip of the production designer's hat. And she's in the house, and then there's a strange figure. And then she goes into a tunnel, and there's another strange figure. And anyway, she goes through the village, and all the people basically look like this one guy,
Right.
played by Rory Kinnear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they all look like him, but they're all made up. The makeup actually is very good. It's not prosthetics, it's just hair color and glasses and teeth. It's very effective. They did a really good job. It's beautifully shot. So in the end, there's this kind of body horror thing where this guy gives birth to all the characters,
Oh,
all
Jesus.
the characters, and you literally see the crowning. You see his head pushing through the old lips and then coming through the shoulder. The vagina is in his shoulders and all these places. And no surprise, but the end manifestation is, of course, her husband. And he sits down and she's looking at him like that. by which time she's actually very strong and everything, because there's a lot of hints of misogyny and sexism and Me Too, and that women are blamed. Your husband died, what did you do?
Right.
It was your, all the characters all come at her with all these comments about, it must have been your fault. You know what I mean? That's the overwhelming,
Right.
you know, what are you doing on your own? Where's your husband? Why is a woman allowed to travel on her own? All these old-fashioned bullshit views that people have of women. So it's interesting. Sal, she wasn't too into it, and it was okay. It kind of left you feeling, well, we knew the husband was going to pop up at the end. It's interesting. It was beautifully shot. I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, it's.
Is it worth seeing?
I would say it's worth seeing because Alex Garland is professional. He's a good director. He's a good writer. I mean, he did Annihilation, which I love.
And he did 28 Days Later.
He did.
Yeah.
And now they're doing 28 years later. And then they're going to be doing 28 millennia. Anyway, so he's totally respectable and it's worth seeing. I think even shit horror is worth seeing. This isn't shit. It's worth seeing. The last thing I saw was a thing called Bones and All.
What's that about?
Well, if you can imagine taking Near Dark, directed by Catherine
Bigelow.
Anna. So she's excellent female director. And I say female, for all you people who go woke, 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 is that she is an excellent director. And in my opinion, has not been given the justice and movie-making palette that she needs and should deserve, quite frankly, in my opinion. Anyway, so she did this, Near Dark, and Bones and All is, I would say, is Near Dark, but with cannibals.
Great.
But it doesn't touch the genius and the beauty of Near Dark, but it approximates it in its ideology, and it's some very violent imagery in there. And there's some really, I've got to be honest, some scary scenes when she meets these other cannibals. Because this girl is a cannibal herself, you see. Not to spoil it for you. And there's some scenes where I'm like, fucking hell, I'm scared of these characters. So anyway, I would recommend that. It's good.
It's funny, I've been watching shows recently where I see certain actors portraying characters, and I've been watching True Detective, and I've started watching from the very beginning.
Hold on, True Detective. Not the show that they just finished recently.
Well, yeah, that's season 5.
Yeah, you've watched it all, right?
I haven't watched it all yet.
You're on the beginning series.
I've finished watching the beginning series.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
That is the best one.
Well, I don't know, I haven't seen the rest yet, but it
No,
is...
I'm telling you, that is the best one.
Oh my God, it is fantastic. Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Superb
I know.
series. And towards the end, when you get to the climax, there's that weirdo psycho guy.
Yes.
And you're watching this actor and you're wondering, okay, he's given the direction and he's a complete fucking weirdo. And you're like, is that part of that actor's persona in there somewhere for it to come out? Because he was so creepy. And it was like, surely no one could act that in real life.
I think you should discuss that with your actor brother, Guy Masterson.
Well, maybe.
Because the thing is if you're acting, you do bring
No,
yourself
of
to
course.
the table. So you have to access, you know, if you're playing as a
psycho,
psychotic person, you have to access part of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the craft.
It was fabulous. I mean, it was so brilliant. That first season was so brilliant. I need to finish watching the rest
Well,
of it.
I tell you what, I actually enjoyed Night Country.
Okay.
But the thing is with Night Country, it has all these little sniffs and hints. It tries to link the first series, you know, there's all the spiral stuff.
Yeah.
There's that thing when he goes into the cave and you see a galaxy
Right.
and all that kind of stuff, which I think works really well in there.
Yeah.
I think in Night Country, it doesn't quite work. I think we've discussed this before. I do think the actors in Night Country, all of them actually, in all the series, are superb.
Oh, absolutely.
And they sell it.
Yeah.
But the other character, which is the Night Country itself, is superb as well.
Right.
But there was a slight tinge of the way the murders were solved. And it was like,
But do you think that's all leading up to a massive conclusion? Is it all tied
wouldn't
together?
say so.
Or are they just individual
I wouldn't say
standalones?
so. I would say they're individual. They link them with the use of the spiral mythology,
Okay.
but there's no conclusion to that mythology
Right.
in my limited intelligence, frankly.
So get this. Yesterday, they dropped on Paramount Plus the first 2 episodes of the last season of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, right, yes.
And I've actually really enjoyed Star Trek Discovery and all of the Star Trek things. I mean, I'm a Star Wars guy, but I've gotten really into Star Trek.
Okay.
And I really, really like it.
Right.
But maybe it's because I had a headache last night, but I'm watching this episode and they're just shouting at each other.
In space, no one can hear you shout.
Exactly. And I'm like, why is this such... I just felt like it was forced.
Was the ship crashing? Were
They
in
had
an
a whole bunch
asteroid
of
belt?
chase scenes that seemed a bit ridiculous and convoluted and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, why? Why? They tell better stories in this. Now, I'm giving it a chance because it is the first episode of the last season, but I'm just like, really? And what's interesting is in the coming up on this season of Discovery, it looks like they're tying everything into all the other Star Treks.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's good, but do I have to get through all this bollocks to get to that?
Honestly, even though I worked on season 1,
Yeah.
a small part,
Of
very
Discovery,
tiny part
yeah.
for Paul Jones, FX, makeup effects supervisor on that one. I worked for him, and I've never watched them.
Really?
I think because Sal, bless her, doesn't really like sci-fi.
Right.
So I think for me...
Which is interesting because she likes horror.
She does, only under extreme pressure from myself.
Under duress.
Yes. Slowly but surely, I've kind of steered her ship towards the bloody waters. So she is a bit of a horror fan now.
Well, I was going to say, just to finish up
Yeah.
my thing. So interesting that they're tying in all of the Star Treks. I have been listening to Patrick Stewart's audiobook, Making It So.
Patrick Stewart.
It's such a richly told story of all
I
of...
started on Excalibur.
No, way before that.
What?
He's from a town in Yorkshire.
No, but what did he start on? His first film...
I haven't got that far yet.
His first film was Excalibur. That's when you first saw Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
He was one of the Knights of the Round Table.
I know that, Martin.
No, you don't. You said Yorkshire.
No, I'm saying he was from Yorkshire.
Look, you're going red.
Read the book.
You're going red.
Well, listen to it.
You'll
It's
lend
brilliant.
it to me.
Actually, it's an audiobook.
I won't be able to fucking hear it then.
No, exactly. But it's brilliant. It's like listening to your grandfather
Right.
tell your story.
Okay.
It is wonderful. I'm really enjoying that.
I loved him as Xavier
Yeah.
in X-Men.
Yeah.
He's just awesome. He's just one of those solid
And
character
he's
actors.
funny.
Right.
He tells this story of when he was on Star Trek Next Generation and how he was taking his job so seriously that he actually got up and yelled at all the cast for messing around on set.
What film was this?
This was Star Trek Next Generation.
Oh, right.
They said, come on, Patrick, we've got to have some fun somehow. And he was more pissed off with himself. He stormed off the set. And then he had to come back and eat crow and say, I'm really sorry, everybody. And then on, he's leading the way of just pranking everybody on set at any time he can get.
Right.
It's just brilliant stories like that. It's just fantastic.
Well, it's good that he had the humility
Yes.
to listen. Oh, hold on, I'm going to be corrected here.
Yeah.
I think if you can have that
Yeah.
in your career, it's really good.
Yeah.
Right, James?
So, yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
All right. Well, are you awake in Potter's Bar?
There will be when I cut this down to 15 minutes.
Well, next time we'll be having our interview, hopefully.
Yes.
We've had some technical issues, so hopefully that'll be resolved. We've got some other people lined up, and see you soon.
Bye, mate.
Bye.
Before we go, we bring you our
Fact check! Fact check! Fact check!
Fact check segment.
Here with the benefit of hindsight,
And editing.
we can own up to our mistakes.
So, James, Hershey does not own Kraft. Hershey Foods Corporation is its own company.
I stand corrected.
Yes.
Martin, Cadbury has agreed with Fairtrade to keep its logo on the back of the chocolate bars as a partner, in quotes, with the brand making a significant pulling back from the company's original commitment.
Of course. Too good to be bloody true. Now, The Three Body Problem, Episode 5 Judgment Day, was directed by Minky Spiro, a British director who has awards for her photography as well.
Nice. Does she have a licence for her minky?
Taking a piss.
Martin,
Yeah.
the double slit experiment demonstrates that light matter can satisfy the seemingly incongruous classical definitions for both waves and particles. This ambiguity is considered evidence for the fundamentally probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics.
The probability of problems.
Exactly.
Now, talking of problems and quantum mechanics, The device, placed in Switzerland, I think it is the Large Hadron Collider.
And they have them all over the world.
Do they now?
They do.
Oh, I think that's why we're spinning out of control societally and environmentally, mentally.
Exactly. And Martin,
Yes.
Lamb 2021 was set in Iceland and was directed by Vladimir Johansson.
I get it now. Talking of movie making,
Yes.
X 2022 was directed by Ty West,
Ooh.
American director known for Roost and House of the Devil, amongst others.
Excellent. Right, that's it. That's our fact check for this episode. See you next time.
Toodle pip.
Ciao, ciao.
Yes.